What is up, friends? We are back with chapter 3 of the Tao Te Ching. So the last chapter that we took a look at, right, it talked a great deal about living in accordance with the Tao by recognizing contradictions in the world, by understanding that the short is only allowed to exist because of the tall, that death is only a concept because we know what life is. Like, all things are in relation with one another, and understanding this relationship is key to understanding the Tao. Look at that, we're getting there. So let's take a look at chapter 3, man. So the chapter 3 in our book here is called The Removing of Desire. So, ooh, that's a sexy one, right? That's always something that you hear in like self-help gurus and people on YouTube, and like talking about minimalism, and while they like make $300,000 in ad revenue and all this other garbage. We're not going to get into that, but let's see what the Tao has to tell us in chapter 3, man. I'm excited. So, not praising the deserving prevents envy. Not valuing wealth prevents theft. Not displaying what's desirable prevents confusion of the senses. Therefore, the sage governs by emptying senses and filling bellies, curbing strife and strengthening backs, keeping the people ignorant and without desire, making the learned afraid to act. If he acts without action, order will prevail. This seems loaded. All right. Let's, as always, bros, we're going line by line here. Let's see what we got. So, not praising the deserving prevents envy. So what I'm getting out of this, right, is like, it's kind of an odd translation, but by not giving accolades to people that are like super well off all the time, you prevent envy from rising up. You know, you prevent yourself and others from becoming envious when you don't have a constant spotlight on like people's wealth and like the deserving, right? So not valuing wealth prevents theft. So I get this one. This is saying that if wealth and money aren't the most significant things to you, if you're able to shift like your internal value system or the value system of others away from money being the most important thing, then theft is not going to be something that you have to worry a whole lot about, because people aren't coveting riches. So not displaying what's desirable prevents confusion of the senses. So if you avoid like displaying all like your rich guy stuff, right? Like, you're not putting like your PS5 and like your Lamborghini and just all your fancy clothes, and if you're not always displaying this sort of stuff, you can prevent losing your sense of what's important. You know, you're able to keep your mind unclouded and the minds of others unclouded, and focus on what's important when you're not throwing all these material goods and other things like that in other people's faces. This is what I'm getting out of it. I can't say I'm 100% confident. This is gonna be a complex read, man. Of course the Tao's complex, but I'm gonna love to hear what you guys have to think on this one, because that's what I took out of it. I'll probably have to do a few more reads to see what else, but that's where my head's at with this right now. Therefore, the sage governs by emptying senses and filling bellies. So the wise person teaches or rules people by emptying the senses and filling bellies. Emptying the senses. So by like doing away with the senses and like keeping people full, which I get, right? Like, if you keep people satisfied and satiated, then you keep them from getting impassioned and unhappy, maybe. So curbing strife and strengthening backs. Okay, so like making sure they're not suffering, or just like you're not having all these disproportionate what am I looking for? Like distributions of wealth and all that sort of stuff, and making sure your people are strong. Keeping the people ignorant and without desire. So ignorance an interesting word, but I don't think it means like ignorant in the negative sense, more just ignorant of an unachievable or unrealistic lifestyle, and keeping people from like feeling covetous, you know, like not throwing all these riches and these other extravagant things in people's faces. If you can manage to do this, then it sounds like you can keep the peace better. Making the learned afraid to act. Making the learned afraid to act. So making the learned, so like the learned are like the educated, right? Afraid to act. But afraid to act in what sense? Making the learned afraid to act. I'm gonna have to marinate on that one. I'm not 100% sure on the interpretation of that. Making the learner. Maybe if we read another translation, though, maybe if we look in here, that'll kind of help me out with this. If he acts without action, order will prevail. So going back to what we talked about in chapter 2, right? If one can learn to like not force things or force themselves on others and allow things to proceed how they naturally should, then order will be a natural consequence of that. So let's look in the book and see what it has to say as far as translation. So if talent is not glorified, people will not compete with one another. So going back to what we just read, right? By not glorifying certain aspects or certain things, then you prevent like negative emotions like envy and jealousy from taking hold if you're not constantly placing a spotlight on those things, right? If the rare and precious are not coveted, people will not steal. If desirable objects are not wantonly displayed, people's hearts will not be in turmoil. So exactly what we were saying, right? Saying that if you're not constantly throwing extravagant stuff in people's faces, then people's won't be in turmoil and won't feel like they have to take from others because because they want that lifestyle, you know. Covetedness will be lower. When the enlightened man orders things, he bestows When the enlightened man orders things, he bestows a mind empty of needless concerns, a stomach full of nourishing food. He bestows a mind empty, so a mind empty. So emptying the senses. So they mean like having a mind that's clear of just like garbage and needless worries. Okay. He eschews selfish resolve and strengthens the body, so he doesn't think about just his desires strictly. He worries more about making sure he's strong so he can act and do what needs to be done. Makes sense. As a guiding principle, he removes the opportunities for willfulness and covetousness from the ordinary people. So in this translation, they're saying that they take away the greed and jealousy that from ordinary folks or whatever, from regular people, by doing what they mentioned earlier, by not placing so much importance on wealth and extravagance, and withholds the opportunities for misusing their knowledge from the educated. Oh, okay. So this is saying that by making the learned afraid to act, what it's saying is that by making it so that those with knowledge aren't put in a position where they can misuse or abuse their education, which is a real thing, you know, because like the smarter and the more educated that you get, you can honestly do a lot of damage to people. You can do a lot of damage in the world. So it talks about the importance of having the educated in your population know how to use like their powers for good, right? Okay. In doing, by not doing, there is nothing that cannot be controlled. Kind of going with the flow, man. So in learning to do by not doing, then you can control everything. This book, bro. My brain right now, man. How are you guys feeling? This was a good one. I'm glad that we have like a few translations to go off of, because that makes a huge difference, right? The translation on the online version that we're looking at is kind of weird. So like seeing this one kind of helped fill in some of those gaps. So basically, in summary, what I'm understanding, right, is that it's saying that by not displaying like crazy amounts of wealth and extravagant things in front of people, you help make it so that their desires don't take them over and they become violent or like ill-passioned. And wise people know how to use the strengths and evoke the best from people. That's how a good leader functions. That's a good one. So it talks a lot about how like desire can kind of ruin you, right? Like greed and jealousy and envy and having your focus be strictly on monetary goods, that can be the death of you, which I'm in pretty big agreement with. Not bad, man. I'll probably have to reread this one a few times too, but I think I'm kind of getting what it's putting down after talking with you guys on work, like reading through it a few times. I think I got a better idea of what's happening. So what do you guys think, man? I'm excited to hear you guys' interpretation in the comments, see what you guys think about all this, because boy, it gives you some stuff to think about, man. But I hope you guys have been enjoying this. I know I have. Stay woke out here, y'all. Talk to you guys in the next video. Be good.